I've been using essential oils probably for like 30 years. There's always dirt or makeup or whatever. So I would say to people, you need to clean your face every night. What I've always done to clean my face is just oil, like just simple oil. And then I've always had a box with essential oils in the bathroom, and I would just put in whatever I want, and then I'd use a cloth and clean my face.
Welcome to episode 4 of the Kiwi Original. Today on the show we have Deirdre Doran.
Hi.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, a little bit of preamble. Deirdre runs a company called Agnes Me. It is a natural skincare company that has some of the attributes as cruelty-free, affordable, ethical, and of course, New Zealand made.
Yeah.
Where should we start? Maybe we just go straight into the products. You've got a couple of products there in front of you.
Yeah.
What do these represent in terms of Agnes and Me? And then let's go through what each of those products are.
All right. So, I do have a full product range, but I brought with me today the face cream, which is really my original product. And I would say this is like my baby because the company has only existed for 2 years, but I've been making this for 15 years. So, and I never thought I'd be selling this. There's a big background to this. So I started making this after I arrived in New Zealand. So this is my baby. I've been making it for a long time. So this is a really gorgeous, hydrating, like I was saying earlier. I think that, New Zealand conditions, require really hydrating skincare products. And this is made with lots of beautiful oils, organic marula oil, which not a lot of people know about, but it's a really, really gorgeous oil that I think is going to be the next big buzz skincare.
How do you say that?
Marula. It's and it's the most expensive oil that I buy. But it's really beautiful, great for all skincare. There's a few companies selling it, and it's mega expensive. But I use this in my face cream. Also got rose hip, evening primrose, jojoba, and a few other oils. I won't go into all the ingredients. But this, and there's a few like lavender and geranium essential oils, so very tiny amount of those. They are lovely, antibacterial and rejuvenating, and they just smell lovely. If you don't like the smell, you probably won't like it, but this is what I liked, what I made for it. This is all I've used for 15 years, so.
And when do you put the face cream on? Is it the morning? Is it the evening? Like what stage of the process does this product fit into the daily routine? Okay.
I use this morning and night, always, and have done for 14 years probably really in reality, because I've been in New Zealand 15, so I made it after, in the first year of being here. So I use this every morning and night. So my whole thing with skincare has always been really simple. I don't have any 10-step processes, I think, and this is my whole thing with my brand and what I am anyway. It's just about keep it simple, don't make it complicated. So I would say to people, you need to clean your face every night, and that's clean your face not with soap, not with water, but water's involved, but I use the balm for cleansing. I'll talk about that in a minute. But so clean your face properly. There's always dirt or makeup or whatever. You just clean your face at night and then use a good either face cream, face oil, whatever suits your skin. Because your face actually does. There was always an old saying, you may not know it as a man, but use a good thick face cream at night time. And the rationale for that is that our skin becomes more permeable at nighttime. So while we sleep, so that means that we lose more comes out. But the beauty of it is that more goes in. So if you use a really good face cream, I also make a face oil. So, if that suits your skin, but if you've got more dehydrated skin, you need face cream. And I'd say anybody past their late 30s probably needs a face cream.
So by putting it on in the evening, while you're sleeping,
you're feeding
the product's
your face.
Doing the work.
Yeah, you're feeding your face, but you're also, a face cream is made with 3 different components. It's got water, our water base. A lot of people would say in the past, it's just a water filler and it's there and it's got no purpose, but it actually hydrates your face. I've written something there on my website about this. So the water is there to hydrate your face. There is no other way to get that hydration to your face. You can drink and drink and drink, but the last place the water goes is your outer tissues.
Is that
your
right?
Skin. Yeah. So, and you can splash water on, but it doesn't stay, obviously.
Because some people say you don't need all these creams, you just need to drink a lot of water.
I would say, in this day and age, we do need to put products on, and very few people don't do it, in all honesty. But when you drink water, it goes to your internal organs more than, this is the last place it goes to. So you do have to drink. I do, but I drink a lot of water, and I think you need to drink water for good general health. But to hydrate your face, it's not your ideal first line.
Okay,
I would say.
So put the face mask on,
Face
put it on in the evening, face cream.
Yeah, so clean your face and then put face cream on. If you're using a face oil, I would always say you put it on a damp face. So you pat oil onto a damp face, and that is so that you get some extra hydration. So the dampness provides that hydration. The oil then locks in the water that's in the cream or that you've left on your face, and a face cream also has what's called a humectant, and that draws water up from your lower tissues. And you can spare it, but that draws it up. I used to think in the past that it brought it in from the outside air, but you have to be in very humid conditions for that. Maybe Singapore or something, or Auckland on a really, really humid day, but mostly it's bringing it up from your lower tissues. So that's how a face cream works. So at night time, your skin's more permeable, you're losing water, you put on a good face cream, you're putting something on that locks in the water, it's feeding your face, and it is stopping you losing the water that you would lose if you didn't have it
Got
on.
it. Okay.
Then in the morning, I say, I don't clean my face again. Some people do, your choice. Cleansing is the hardest thing that you do to your skin, whether it's your hands, your face. It's the harshest thing you can do. So that's why I always say, use a really gentle cleanser. So in the morning, just get up, splash your face and face cream on again. That's what I use. Other people will just use face oil or whatever.
So that's quite simple. It's the face cream in the evening, wash it off, then in the morning, wash your face cream back on, go out into the world.
With sunblock, which I do not make, but that is also, so I say that clean your face, moisturize it, sunblock, or a hat. So, because the sun is the most harmful thing, and it's harmful because it causes, the UV, it actually dehydrates our skin, but it also, causes more wrinkles and whatever. So yes, if you want to stay youthful, like Hugo, you want to keep your skin protected. Yeah.
Particularly in New Zealand. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the New Zealand conditions with the UV,
Yes.
with the hole in the ozone, even though it is recovering here, it's certainly far more damaging than I remember when I was living in London.
Yeah.
It's far more overcast over there. Where does which you'll know and we'll come on to with your history with Ireland, where does the Blam Blam balm, the next product there, where does that fit into what we've just been talking about with the face cream?
So this is a balm, and it's made, so it's really gorgeous. The history behind this is that, let me see, so I'd say I've been using essential oils probably for like 30 years. Like I'm a nurse, I qualified as a nurse from Belfast, went straight to Australia. I had a short stint in London. Then I went to Australia like everybody did. They were giving away free visas. We all went, we thought, oh my God, great, like a good year in Australia. And then all these years later, I'm still on this side of the world. But so anyway, I went away to a health retreat one time because I worked in intensive care and I was doing night duty, and I was going to be, doing night duty over the Christmas holidays. Anyway, and I went to this health retreat just to do something nice for myself. And I was introduced to essential oils there. So that was a long time ago. And since then, I have always used essential oils in my skincare. So I've probably always, just been using oil, adding essential oils, mixing concoctions up myself. And what I've always done to clean my face is just oil, like just simple oil. And then I've always had a box with essential oils in the bathroom, and I would just put in whatever I want, and then I'd use a cloth and clean my face. So I've done that for over 25 years. And then when I started making this, then I thought, oh, well, I could make something that's actually, combines all that. So that's where this product came from, really. So it's, so primarily I made it as a cleanser, but it's like really great for everything. And it's not like a lot of balms people think of like therapeutic, use this for itchy bites, or if you've got a cut, a balm is seen as a fix all things. I call this like a beauty balm, just to, I suppose, like differentiate it in a way, because it's made with really gorgeous oils. That's my first thing. Like I use, this has got like organic rosehip and safflower, jojoba, hemp seed, and shea butter, and so beautiful New Zealand beeswax. So lots of beautiful products in there. So it's not something to put in the back of your cupboard and think, oh, I'll take that out if I need it, like in a year's time or whatever. This is something to use all the time.
And is that for face as well? Or can it be used for your hands, or what's
everything? So look, I tell it on the back of this jar what what you can use it for. As I say, it's a cleanser for me. It's also, I have not used perfume since I started making this. This is my perfume. It's my smell. It's because perfumes are pretty harmful, really. So this is a really gorgeous, beautiful smell. And it's all natural, essential
perfumes
oils.
Are harmful for your skin, or harmful when they're made?
Perfumes have got a lot of not such nice things in them, really, so I don't use them. So this is my perfume. So it's essential oils. I know what's in there. It's really lovely. I mean, there's a lot of people making natural perfumes now, and a lot of people making them in New Zealand, and they're really gorgeous. But this is I'm just saying for me. Hands, definitely, legs, everything. And this is my hair. This is all I use in my hair.
So you can use the Blam Blam Balm in your hair as a treatment, or as kind of just finishing?
As a texturizer, because I've got grey hair, as you can see. And whenever you go grey and you stop colouring your hair, it changes texture. And it was my hairdresser that told me just to use oil. So I just started using that and think, yeah, right.
So I'm going to need that soon.
You could try it, yeah. Well,
so not yet, hopefully.
Oh, look at you. Look at you.
And the next product that you've got there.
And with this, actually, this is really funny. This is what I got an email just before I came here today, because lots of people send me emails. They've used it on eczema, they've used it on burns, and I'm like, that's great. I don't claim any of those therapeutic things, but somebody emailed me this morning to say this has been her lifesaver since the coronavirus, because she's washing her hands all the time. She's a teacher. And so
it dries your hands out.
So, well, yes, completely. So soap is terrible, but you must use it. I was a hand hygiene coordinator for 18 months. That's one of my previous jobs. So if you need to know anything about hand hygiene. And I learned an awful lot about skin while doing that job, because that was the biggest objection to cleaning your hands in hospital, is the harm that it does to your hands. And that's soap and alcohol, both totally required to have clean hands, but you must look after your hands. So anyway, Julie emailed me this morning to say, oh my God, her eczema has broken out again with all the hand cleaning. So the balm's the only thing that's stopping the itching and the breaks in her skin. So I need to do a bit of a post. But I was saying a few people have come up and told me that recently. So
for anyone stocking up on hand sanitizers, should probably be stocking up on a balm, or at least something that's going to keep your skin clean.
I was talking to a girl in the shop today, because she was cleaning her hands every 2 seconds, and I'm like, what are you doing to look after your hands afterwards? I didn't try and sell her. But I said that is so important, I mean, and that's with anything. And as I said earlier, like, cleaning your skin is the most harmful thing you do to it. So
harmful yet necessary.
Absolutely necessary. But so use... With your hands, you can't do anything. You must, either use soap or sanitizer. And lots of people are talking about making their own ones, and I'm thinking it's probably not a good idea. People have emailed me about that as well, and I think no. Alcohol is really, really harsh on your hands, but it has been scientifically proven to kill the bugs. And the homemade ones, that'll just be as harmful to your skin, because it's a really drying agent.
Okay.
So look after your skin, whether you're using a balm, and I've been told this is marvelous by Julie, but also or just use a really good hand cream.
What got you into the skincare side? Because we've talked about the products, and that you were actually making these for yourself 15 years ago when you were a registered nurse and then came out to Australia. What made you decide that this thing that you were doing for yourself could potentially become a business, and the business should be called Agnes Me? Because that's a big shift from a lot of people make their own products and scratch their own itch, but you're actually put this into a whole new business. It's
Yeah.
2 years old.
So the whole turning point in all this was probably 3 years ago. We went to dinner. This my husband's friend, they'd just come back from America and they were having a Thanksgiving dinner. And so we came along. We thought, well, Thanksgiving, you have to bring things that you make yourself. I think that's the whole. Anyway, so we came along with. I brought face cream and body butter, and Michael, my husband, makes beer, and we make all sorts of stuff. Our house is full of things we make, and it's usually pretty good, and chutneys and whatever. So we brought out this bag to them and gave it to them. And anyway, Lisa absolutely loved the face cream and was just raving about it. And so she started to ask me to make it for her, which I did, and she wanted to pay me, and I'm like, well, I don't sell it. And then she got me to make some for her mother, and her mother loved it as well. And I was like, well, I had a really busy job. I was like middle management, I suppose, at one of the DHBs in Auckland, not enjoying it. And then anyway, Lisa was very persuasive, would be the word. And so she made me make up like 6 jars of face cream because she was going off to Oamaru for a weekend with the girls that she went to boarding school with. So I mean, I've got all these photographs. They're really bad of, like wooden boxes that Michael had beer delivered in. And I'd made up 6 boxes and all these different names, like really bad. And she took them all down. Everybody got a jar, and then they had a whole big thing on like what about the name, the product, would they buy it again? What did they think of this? So she did a whole marketing thing on it.
So they were your first research into the R&D.
Yeah, and to see would actually anybody other than Lisa buy it. And it came back at about 50%. So, and then anyway, so Lisa got a job in Christchurch, so they moved the family down, and she was saying, well, you're going to have to sell it now. So basically she talked the Oratia Farmers Market into allowing me to have a stall. So that was Christmas 2 years ago, and she came with me because I said, I'm not doing it on my own. So we had the stall. It was terrible looking, like with a tablecloth and 2 products and like old like wooden boxes. Anyway, very, very basic. And we sold it. He wasn't going to let me do it because he said, this is just food. And she said, but it's all made in West Auckland. It's all natural. It's mostly organic and da-da-da. And so in the end, he rang me up and he said, okay, you can come. So, and that was probably a month before Christmas. And the moment that I thought, oh my God, this could work, is that, so I did the market on the Saturday, and then on the Sunday, I thought I should make a Facebook page. I didn't have Facebook or anything. So I set up a Facebook page. And when I came back, someone had contacted me and went, oh my God, I bought your stuff. I love it. I want to buy some for Christmas for other people, but I can't make it back to the market. Is there any way I could come and meet you? And then the market organizer, his wife, got in touch with me and said, oh, these people have been ringing looking for your contact details. And I thought, oh my God. So that was, I suppose, when I thought, God, this could work. And yeah, so.
Isn't it nice when you get that first feedback from customers where suddenly it goes from, this is a great product, but does anyone else think so?
I know.
To, oh, actually one person thinks it's a really good product.
And they want to buy it.
What was the feedback when people were walking through that market? Do you remember those first interactions that you were having with people?
It was probably quite, nerve-wracking would be the word, like, and very, because this is my stuff, and like I was a sales rep, like sales as in I had 6 years where I worked for General Electric. I sold intensive care equipment, ventilators and monitors and whatever, and they told me I was very good at it, but it wasn't something that I particularly enjoyed. But what I was good at was the teaching side of things. And but this is different because this is my thing, this is me. So
it becomes personal.
Yeah, it's very personal, and to even trying to explain to someone, or to want someone to buy it, was just like, oh my God. So to have the faith that it was good enough, that was really hard. And I think it was a great place for me to have started because it was quite a quiet little market and it was very local, and I still have amazing customers and friends from there, that have stayed with me the whole time. So it was quite relaxed. So it allowed me to get into it quite gently, really, and just to start having conversations with people. And I don't know, to start making. It was a really good practice place.
I think for anyone who's just getting started in business, those farmers markets or any market where you can just test things in small quantities. You can get into business without risking the house and the mortgage and the kids, and try it out and see how people respond to it.
Yeah.
And you can learn from how they respond too, about what they like about it once they've tried the product for the first time. And also it's quite low cost marketing because your first customers actually tell other people, and then it spreads from there. That's right.
And, you know, even like, because I have other products, you know, and I would have key people from different market areas that would then test for me, you know, and they get, you know, lists of questions. They come back, you know, I was just talking about the face oil where there was lots of different formulations because people come back and go, you know, and then you tweak things. So, but they're all customers that do that with me, you know.
So did you go market to market after that first one?
A market to market. The first year I did so many markets. It was crazy, like 72 it was.
72 markets in 1 year?
Yeah.
You personally?
Michael did some, which was mad, because I ended up, I was doing that regular one, and then, you know, other people approached me to come to do like cooler markets. And then he didn't want to leave the local one, you know, so he did a few, but he didn't really like that, and that's fair enough.
Building the relationships, don't you?
Yeah. So now I still do markets, and I think that's my, that is where, you know, your face-to-face selling, that's really important, and it's where you build your relationships and the word spreads.
Sorry to interrupt. This won't take long. Subscribe to the show and you'll never miss another one of these amazing episodes. Right, back to the show. I think for a product, particularly where it's got something you can try, and you can't digitize the smell yet. So without that, you still have to get it out there to people. So by being selective, it's about, well, who do I want to introduce my product to? Who do I want to represent the brand Agnes and Me? And that's probably something we should talk about is, where does the name Agnes and Me come from?
That's funny because we were talking about this during the week before I came down. So Agnes is my mother. And so I think when a bit like I told you that Lisa went off with the 6 different named products to Oamaru, that did not feature in there. But it was, I think when I seriously thought, oh, God, maybe this is something I can sell and I need to come up with the name. I came through, like I just did lots of brainstorming, you know, like all sorts of things. But I think at the end, I'm one of 5 girls. And I think it had to be about either my sisters or my mother, because that's, to me, as a woman, that's where you learn all of that, you know, your skincare, your nurturing, your, you know, all of those things. At one stage, it was going to be 5 girls. I'm glad I didn't go with that. And I'd written down all these things. And it's funny because Michael said there the other night, that I had written down all this stuff, and one of them was Agnes and Me, and he came in and went, that's it. So basically, and I've written a whole story about this, my mother, she didn't even like the name Agnes, but I do. But she was very, I suppose, because it's all plant-based, and essential oils come from flowers mostly. And my mother, and a lot of my branding is very flower focused. And, you know, I mean, always when I'm at any event, I'll have beautiful flowers. That's my thing. And our garden, like our house would have been a mess, but our garden was amazing. You know, flowers everywhere. She was a real gardener. She was very, you know, grew everything, vegetables, flowers. So this is all, in a way, that's her sort of background, you know, that's her thing, you know, the flower, the plants, the natural side of things.
So it brings in part of your family story within the product, so it actually becomes really meaningful to you. And actually makes it important what goes into it. Is that the kind of the nurturing, nourishing side of the product, and also your relationship with your mum? Is there honouring that?
It is honouring her. I think I look at her and I think, you know, God, what a life she had. I think I wrote about it, actually, about her on International Women's Day last year, because I think even though we've got such a long way to go, I think in the gender equality, when I look at the life I have in comparison to her, it's just like insane, you know. And it's just the way life was then. You know, it was really tough. She had 7 children. We lived in Northern Ireland, in one of the worst towns in Northern Ireland, in the middle of the Troubles. And it was a really hard life. Like, I look at her and I think, you know, she was such a creative woman. And I think, you know, had she had my life, it would have been a very different life. I think I've just been really lucky that I've had the life I've had, you know, that I wasn't born 50 years earlier in Northern Ireland, you know, and, you know, she trained as a nurse as well, but had to leave because her mother died, and, you know, she had to leave nursing to go back and look after her siblings because she was the eldest. And so she, you know, but I think, you know, she had so many skills. Like, she could do anything, but she, was probably quite restricted by the time and her circumstances.
So through adversity, and not just the environment, like Northern Ireland, and the battles or the struggles that were going on there, but also the timing and what was considered right for male roles and female roles. And it sounds like what she wanted to create for, was it 5 daughters?
Yeah. And 2 boys.
And 2 boys is a loving, nourishing, nurtured environment. She'd probably be really proud of what you've gone on to create. Yeah,
she would love this. And she would love, you know, I mean, as I say, I live, you know, in Titirangi in the bush. She loved the birds, she loved the garden, she loved the bush. She would just be like in heaven. Like, I often think that, you know, because we sit there and we've got tuis and curries and all in there. And I spent yesterday watching orcas in front of the house, you know, because they were just in there swimming and jumping out of the water. And I think, God, I am so lucky. And she would just love it. Yeah, so.
That's a magical story. I've got one of this almost, my grandmother always wanted to be Irish. Always wanted to be Irish.
It's a very overrated thing. Can I tell you? Yeah.
So we always heard about that. She goes, look, I love New Zealand, but really, I'd love to be Irish. If I had my time again, I would be Irish through and through.
Well, you know, I am Irish completely, but I've spent more of my life out of Ireland than I have in it, which is, because I left as a newly qualified nurse, so.
And what for the audience who's listening who's Kiwi and has never lived overseas or in Europe, what do you see in New Zealand and Kiwiness that it's hard for me or the audience to kind of get, because we grew up here, we take it for granted. It is what it is.
So I love New Zealand. It's funny, I was even just thinking about what I would talk about in this, you know, I've thought about this a lot. And I would say, you know, a bit like me ending up running this company, it was a bit of I didn't really plan it. Coming to New Zealand, I didn't really plan either. You know, Michael got offered a job. We were living in Sydney. And initially I went, oh, no, we're not going. And then we thought, oh, why not? You know, we'll just go, give it a go. They shipped us over here. We'll just see what it's like. We bought like a really old second-hand car because I thought we might not last a year. And I just had to sit. I just sold a new car in Sydney and I thought, right, you know, this may not last. But it's just one of those things that I've done that it's just been such a great decision. Like, I think, when I write about me, you know, on my website, this is one of the things. It's like, I lived in Australia for a long time, and in some ways I think they were sort of like the missing years. Much as Australia is lovely and whatever, it was never right for me. And I think coming here is almost like more like being at home. It's more, I grew up in Strabane, if anybody's heard of that. Some people have. It's a bit of a mad place, the highest unemployment in Europe. And
Strabane?
Yeah. And it's a cool place as well. You know, it's on the border, which is why it was such a trouble spot during the Troubles. And so we spent a lot of our lives in Donegal, like on the coast. Every weekend we would have been down there all summer. Weather was terrible, but we were always there. So I think I don't know, west of countries are always where I, you know, feel most at home. And I'm in West Auckland, and that's my place. Like, I love the Hokianga and like the west coast down south as well. So anyway, but that's not New Zealand. But anyway, I look at it and think, to me, people are reasonably, not easygoing would be the right everything. I mean, it was quite hard to get settled here. Like, I think everybody's very open to begin with, but then it becomes a wee bit closed again. And so it takes quite a while to, you know, become established here. But once you do, it's really great. So like when I'm working at home, like I've got a great walk that I can just scoot out and do it. It's like, you know, lots of steps, you know, like it's a quick, you know, and it's through the rainforest. It's beautiful. We've got a track down from our house to the water. Yeah, so I just think we've got like a dream life.
I think it's amazing in New Zealand how no matter where you live, you're not that far from the coast, and you're not that far from the forest and the natives, and being able to get out into the forest and actually enjoy the outdoors is what New Zealand's all about.
And that's the difference. Like I look like Ireland. I love Ireland. Like that's great, and my family are there, and we talk all the time. And like Michael would go and live in Ireland. Like he thinks it'd be great to go and live there for a year or so. But I think dark for half the year, the weather, it's cold, and it's very indoors. Like people don't do a lot outdoors. You know, it's so I think I love the outdoor life here. And just it's much more active and.
Next step, where do you want to take Agnes and Me? It's 2 years in now, so you'll have a really good idea of what's working and what you need to improve. 2 years from now, what does it look like? Where's Agnes and Me in 2022? This is
a hard one, you know, because it's just me. Like I am the company. Like I make it, I sell it, I market it, I do everything. And I think if this grew a lot, obviously that would have to change. I don't ever see that this is ever going to be in a supermarket or maybe a department store.
It's a hard question, I think, because just listening to some of your answers is that you've followed your feelings a lot of the time, where you want to live or what you want to make. So maybe that answer will uncover itself over the next year or two, and it'll present itself, and you'll know what to do at the time.
One of the things that I was thinking about before I came down was that, you know, what are some of the trends at the moment that are good and not so good for me as as starting out in this business. And one of the things that I think that is really good for me starting out in this business is the leaning towards buying local and buying from businesses where you know the maker. And people not wanting to buy from big corporates anymore, you know, so I think that's really, you know, like it is really good for me.
It's a massive trend, and I think it's almost the shift back from, you know, the 1980s through to now was really about how do we make sure we can get products everywhere in the world and to everyone.
Yes.
And the way to do that was make generic products for generic people, which created the opportunity to make real products for real people. And there's so many different variations of that. So now we're seeing these local artisan and craft actually being acquired by the corporates. Yeah.
And there is, I mean, my husband works, a big part of his work life is around beer. So I know a lot of brewers, you know, beer makers. And, you know, I see a lot of similarities there where you've gone from the big breweries down to the very small breweries and people supporting local, wanting to know where their products are made. And, you know, so I think that's a really good thing. That's very much my ethos and the way I shop and what I do, and has been for a very long time. But I think a lot more people are coming to want that as well. So that's probably sort of answering that question about where I see it going, because I do think this is the way we are going as as consumers, and we're not being so much consumery. You know, we're not spending as much, but we want to buy what's really good and hopefully support local. But also, you know, you have to like the product. Obviously, I don't want people to buy it off me just because I'm local. I want people will buy it and come back if they really like it. Yeah.
I think you're right, and that over the period of time of humans making things, thousands of years, and living in groups, it's only the last 150, 160 years that it's been different to that. Yeah. That it's been very
The
large
yeah.
groups of industrialized processes that were about the products and the processes, not necessarily the people.
Yeah.
And now there's this opportunity for anyone who's got a solid product that solves a problem and an audience to actually do some really exciting things. So I think for your type of product and for the how you're approaching it, with the nurturing side of it and helping others look after their skin, you don't need to sell to everyone.
No.
You know, maybe it's 1,000 people, maybe it's 10,000, but you certainly don't need 20 countries.
No.
Unless you decided that's the direction you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, at this stage, I don't ship to overseas. I only sell in New Zealand. And I don't, and even this is my ethical, because I think if I want people to buy from me locally, then I think people in other countries should buy from their own local maker. So I think I shouldn't have that belief about my product, but then think that other people should buy it from me in Australia or Ireland. My sisters use it and they actually buy it now, which is great, because they used it long before I sold it, but now they actually pay for it, which is fabulous. But but you know, so I don't have international shipping on my website, which is that may change, I don't know, but at this stage I think, you know,
I think
it's
that's the right
local.
way. I mean, I say the same thing to businesses, that buy local is great, but it's not an attribute about why someone's going to buy. It's a hygiene factor. It's not the reason. You've got to have same with climate solutions. You've got to have a product that is delicious or solves the problem or is healthy for you. Whatever that, it's got to solve a problem. If you make it locally, that's great, but it's not the reason to buy on its own.
Yeah. That's right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, this will not suit everybody. I do talk to lots of people, and you know, I mean, I try to give people information and online and face to face, because I think, you know, if you don't need it, don't buy it. If you don't, you know, if it doesn't suit you, I do sometimes, you know, do samples. You know, like I have little sample packs that people can get as well, just so that they can try it out and see if it works or whether they like it. It's not going to suit everybody.
And Deirdre, where, if someone's been watching this and now we're coming towards the end, where can they buy this? If it's not directly from you to market, where is there? If you sell online, your website?
Online, yeah, and that's definitely my biggest sales now. Like, that has gone way above what I sell face to face, which is great. It's in a few shops, but not many. I haven't really pursued that. That's another thing for this year, because I think it's quite a hard thing, retail. You know, it's you're up against so many brands, and to differentiate yourself on those shelves is quite hard. So what I'm working on is brand awareness at the moment, like doing this, and you know, and getting other people to spread the story and me to spread the story. So yeah, online, I'm doing Go Green in Auckland at the end of this month, which is a really big event. This will be out before that. I'm also doing General Collective, which is a big event in Auckland as well. So I mean, if you're in Auckland, so those are two really big things this month. But online, that's the main thing.
What's your web address?
So it's agnesme.co.nz. Yeah.
Great.
And there's lots more information. I try to write, you know, blogs and, you know, just about skincare and
Well, I've really appreciated our chat today, Deirdre, and understanding not just about the products, but about the family tie and why that's so meaningful to you and your connection with your mum. And I think the type of business model and where you're at now, like 2 years in, and doing something that is so meaningful, people will appreciate that and buy from someone that's actually representing the product because of those reasons. So I think what you're doing is fantastic, and I think in another year or two, it'll be really interesting if you start to get those opportunities with retailers and deciding what to do next. Do you go big and no one gets to meet you anymore, or do you say no to that and actually keep doing the direct to consumer online? So that's an interesting...
Well, wait, I mean, because I say it has to be financially viable as well, and so that's the big you know, so that will lead some of those decisions as well.
It's that balance, isn't it, between volume and customer experience, and how do you do that remotely with a product like this you have to try. But there's lots of other people doing it, so, you know, I can do it too. I think you can. It's been an excellent talk.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming in and being on a Kiwi Original. This has been a Kiwi Original brought to you by the New Zealand Made team. Thanks for watching. The New Zealand Made trademark is used by over 1,200 businesses in New Zealand. The New Zealand Made team licenses that trademark. Check if you're eligible at bynz.org.nz. If you feel that someone should see this, share it with them now. Otherwise, subscribe to youtube.com/bynzmade, and we'll see you on the next episode.